Judge Brett Kavanaugh's spot on the Supreme Court appears to be secure.
Collins, Flake, and Democrat Joe Manchin all voted yes. Republican Lisa Murkowski joined with Democrats to vote no.
I will vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh.
Well, something big changed.
I could not conclude that he is the right person for the court at this time.
The United States Senate will also be making a statement. We'll either state that partisan politics can override the presumption of innocence, or we'll reaffirm that in the United States of America, everyone is innocent until proven guilty.
There's two choices, the Susan Collins way or the protester way. Who do you want to run the government?
This man has been mistreated. This man has been subjected to a set of procedures that were designed to trip him up.
14 men arrested at the Supreme Court as a crowd cheered them on.
The mob was not able to intimidate the Senate. We stood up to the mob. We did the right thing for a good man.
Good Saturday morning. We start with a Fox News alert. Confirmation confirmed. Senator Susan Collins all but seals the deal for soon-to-be Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh as the Senate heads to a final floor vote today, later on this afternoon. Big day yesterday, you two. We got Rachel and Griff here this morning. It was historic, truly.
It really was. It was a historic day, and Senator Collins, who sometimes isn't the favorite of the Republican base, was the hero yesterday.
Yeah, she is. So as a reporter in Washington, I joke that Susan Collins is always on the fence about an issue here and there. But I will tell you this, mark my words, the words of Senator Collins on the floor yesterday will be referred to in the near future time and time again for the stance she took on the principle of the presumption of innocence. Here's a little bit of what Senator Collins said yesterday. Take a listen.
Judge Kavanaugh has received rave reviews for his 12-year track record as a judge. In evaluating any given claim of misconduct, we will be ill-served in the long run if we abandon the presumption of innocence and fairness. I listened carefully to Christine Blasey Ford's testimony before the Judiciary Committee. I found her testimony to be sincere, painful, and compelling. To that leaker, who I hope is listening now, let me say that what you did was unconscionable, and you have sacrificed her well-being in a misguided attempt to win whatever political crusade you think you are fighting. I do not believe that these charges can fairly prevent Judge Kavanaugh from serving on the court. Mr. President, I will vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh.
It was compelling. In fact, the whole country was waiting to see what Susan Collins would say at 3 o'clock. And I never thought I would say this, but Susan Collins single-handedly eviscerated the left and the way they have abused this process against a good man.
Right. I think the dirty tricks are really what sunk this for the Democrats in so many ways. But she did walk a really fine line, Griff, didn't she? I mean, she really showed empathy, not just for Dr. Ford, but also she talked a lot towards the end of the speech about other women that have come up to her and revealed, you know, secrets that they had never told before. So there was a clear empathy for that and for the Me Too movement. And yet she said, I have to take this vote because of the presumption of innocence, as you said.
That's exactly right. You know, in my analysis as a reporter here, so I don't give opinions, but my analysis is that Senator Collins rose above Brett Kavanaugh. And when she says that when passions are most inflamed, that fairness is most in jeopardy, those are powerful words. And it will be applied to the next several nominations for any political office for men and women who are qualified to serve, but yet are facing allegations uncorroborated like we just saw in this process.
And she was able to rise above Brett Kavanaugh because he's so eminently qualified. At the end of the day, you step back and say, this guy's qualified for the court. Another big hero of this moment, Senator Mitch McConnell.
That's true.
We'll talk more about this, winners and losers on this program. It's going to be a fun morning. I like victory dance. And I've had critical words about Senator Mitch McConnell in the past, but he stood up strongly on the Senate floor yesterday, and he said the mob will not intimidate.
The mob was not able to intimidate the Senate. We stood up to the mob. We did the right thing for a good man. I filled a lifetime appointment on the Supreme Court. There's a lot to celebrate today. I couldn't be prouder of all of my members.
That was actually Laura Ingram's show, but he said the same thing on the Senate floor.
Yeah, he said we're not going to be intimidated, and that's what made what Senator Collins did. I mean, she was facing a lot of pressure from the mob. Can I just say one thing that was a little bit, as a conservative woman, I quibbled a little bit with what happened. You know, she laid out the case for Brett Kavanaugh, his qualifications, but also her assurances that he would not overturn Roe v. Wade. And I was a little bit peeved because it seems like when it comes to conservatives, you can't have a litmus test on Roe v. Wade, and yet if you're pro-choice, you always seem to that seems perfectly fine.
That's a good point, but let's.
I know.
You're right. No, actually, I'm agreeing with you. Let's not miss the historic moment of this. This will be today when the vote happens, the first solid, more or less solid 5-4 conservative majority on the Supreme Court I've certainly seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a win for the Second Amendment. That's a win for free speech. That's a win for religious freedom. And that's a win for unborn babies. I don't know how that plays out.
I agree.
Big win for conservatives who voted for this president because they believed he could do this, from Neil Gorsuch to now Brett Kavanaugh.
And that's why the mob is mad, by the way.
Well, they are mad, and that's the whole thing. I spent all week covering the protesters. I'm in contact with them. The leader of the Women's March, Linda Sarsour.
Were you intimidated?
I was not intimidated. I stared them down. But they're not stopping. They're already going after Susan Collins. They're going after Mitch McConnell. They're going after President Trump. In fact, here's we got a tweet I think here. This is the Women's March. This is who Senator Collins is. Rape apologist.
It's unbelievable.
It's not when you know the depth of the left and what they're willing to do. See, not only did Trump win, the Democrats may have just lost the midterm. I mean, this is a gut punch to the left. They brought everything and the kitchen sink. They're still going to bring it, by the way. They're going to try to impeach Brett Kavanaugh if they were to win in the midterm.
We are going to see today, we're going to see in just a matter of hours, the same protesters that were in the Hart Senate building in that atrium, they're going to be there again today. They're texting me all last night saying, we're going to be out there, we're going to get arrested again. But it's going to be
good.
It's Jerry Nadler.
Fill it up. Fill those jails up. Get arrested. Love it. Have fun.
Well, Jerry Nadler in the House of Representatives, if the House is taken over by the Democrats, he will become the Judiciary Chairman. He says that he is going to pursue an investigation into Kavanaugh, which is weird because
let's do it again.
The House doesn't have advice and consent on the Supreme Court. This guy needs to read the Constitution.
Well, most of them haven't. That's why they're on the left. Anyway, Jared Nadler had this to say, to your point. The Senate, having failed to do its proper constitutionally mandated job of advising consent, we're going to have to do something to provide a check and balance to protect the rule of law and protect the legitimacy of one of our most important institutions.
Again, read the Constitution. It is the job of the Senate. They will have done their job today. And this is another case of the left not accepting the results of an election and now of potentially
That is a great point. The job of the Senate is to advise and consent as laid out in the Constitution.
Yes.
And that is what Collins is saying. That was the function that they served. And Collins says, I have reviewed the judicial record of Brett Kavanaugh and found nothing but a stellar record.
Yep.
I have reviewed the FBI report and found nothing that corroborates the allegations of sexual misconduct, and therefore I support this nomination. This specifically is an enormous problem for Lisa Murkowski.
Yeah.
So Michelle Malkin actually is now saying, gear up, conservatives, because this thing is just getting started. Here she is last night.
I think that this Senate Democrat wrecking machine is not going to give up after Judge Kavanaugh is nominated and approved tomorrow. They're going to go on all the way through the midterms and 2020. And I think it behooves the right and the conservative movement, Laura, to make sure that we don't leave a vacuum in these spaces.
No time to get complacent at all. That usually when you win is the moment you let your guard down. I think the Kavanaugh effect, though, still permanent, still important for Republicans who saw what the left would do if they get power.
Absolutely.
They will turn the Washington, D.C. into a zoo. They'll yell about the rule of law and circumvent rule of law in the process. Later on in the show, Griff, you and I have disagreed a little bit about Mitch McConnell, but I've got a gift for you in the 7 o'clock hour as it pertains to Mitch McConnell, because the guy came through big time.
He has delivered time and time again.
Absolutely. He kept his caucus together, so a big day. All right, well, moving on as well, the Trump administration celebrating a huge political victory.
Senators are expected to confirm Judge Brett Kavanaugh today as the president hits the road for a rally in Kansas.
And Kevin Corke is live in our nation's capital with reaction from the White House. Kevin, what do they have to say?
Well, good morning, guys. Cautious optimism is certainly the order of the day, assuming no last-minute defections. Judge Kavanaugh will be confirmed for the Supreme Court later this afternoon. Let me take you to Twitter and share just a bit of what the White House was saying about it. The president saying he was very proud of the U.S. Senate for voting yes to advance the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Interesting personal note from Sarah Sanders. She was also on Twitter. She said, "Thank you, Senator Collins, for standing by your convictions and doing the right thing to confirm Judge Kavanaugh." Of course, this following yesterday's dramatic speech by the Maine GOP senator in defense of Kavanaugh's bid and amid ferocious opposition on the Hill, as you heard Griff mention there. In fact, it was something that South Carolina GOP Senator Lindsey Graham noted last night.
If you think you can change her mind by yelling at her and showing up at her house, you're dead wrong. Again, I just want to compliment her for stopping what I thought was the closest thing to McCarthyism in my lifetime, that a man is guilty until proven innocent. Facts don't matter. Smearing him equates to him being disqualified. She stood pretty tall. The best thing it happened.
Okay, as for the key votes on Capitol Hill, as you see there, Flake presumed will be a yes. Murkowski, interesting, she's going to say no, but she wants to go down in the record book as simply saying present. Collins a yes, and Joe Manchin out of the great state of West Virginia also a yes. All eyes on the clock in the Hill as we await the president and perhaps his notes on Twitter as we wait for that confirmation vote. And as you mentioned, the president's actually going to be in the Sunflower State tonight. That should be a raucous event. Of course, I'll have all the details, but for now, back to you.
I didn't know Kansas is the Sunflower State.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that either, Kevin.
Kevin educates us every day.
Every day.
Well done, Mr. Corke.
Thank you, Mr. Corke. I will say this. Lindsey Graham there, another face of someone who comes out a huge winner. And we're going to break it down, winners and losers, because there's a lot of interesting ones. But that guy, what he did in the committee, introduced himself to a lot of conservatives who had been frustrated with him for a while. But that is the spirit of Lindsey Graham. He in big moments, he oftentimes steps up.
But that's kind of the spirit of the GOP. I mean, you see a lot more independent voices. The Democrats tend to vote in bloc. Very rarely, unless you have a Joe Manchin who's in a really tough race, do they ever break from their group. This was a moment where you can see that the dirty tricks played in the Senate in this process really united not just the party, but specifically the members of the Senate, who tend to be kind of dysfunctional sometimes.
Yeah, when you overplay your hand, karma can be
Let's not say.
All right. Now, did the presidents just ruin their chances to take back the House and even the Senate? We'll break down how today's outcome may impact the polls next.
Plus, the media already melting down. So will it ever stop? Diamond and Silk are here live this hour.
2 out of 9 sitting justices have been credibly accused of sexual misconduct and then go on to be confirmed anyway.
As the nation awaits today's historic vote on Judge Brett Kavanaugh, many now looking to the vote's impact on the upcoming midterm elections. A new poll revealing the Democrats' advantage on voter enthusiasm. Those who say midterms are, quote, very important, dropping from a 10-point lead back in July to just 2 points today, a statistical tie. Here to react is former pollster for the Trump campaign, Jim McLaughlin. Jim, good morning. Happy Saturday to you. What a day. Unbelievable.
Yeah, never stops.
Everybody wants to know, what's going to be the impact, do you think, of what we've just gone through, what we've all witnessed on the midterms?
I've been seeing polling over the last week. A couple weeks ago, things were not looking good for Republicans. But over the last week, you've seen Republicans coalescing around Republican candidates at the national level and also in the local races. But the other thing you're seeing, especially in a lot of these swing Senate seats, like in Missouri and West Virginia, you're seeing these right-of-center independents coming home for Republicans. And a lot of that has to do with what's going on. And, folks have termed it the Kavanaugh effect.
Let's talk about West Virginia for a moment, and that is, of course, Senator Joe Manchin. He is a yes. He is going to vote. He will be credited, rightfully so, as being part of getting Kavanaugh across the finish line. What happens there?
It was all about political survival for him. I really believe because he voted for Obamacare. He voted against the Trump tax cuts. So Pat Morrissey, who's a really good candidate in West Virginia, was making the point that whenever Chuck Schumer needs him, he goes with the Washington liberals. He goes with Chuck Schumer, and he goes with Nancy Pelosi. I think it would have been 3 strikes if you're out if you voted for Brett Kavanaugh, because he supported overwhelmingly in West Virginia. And I still think, even though he voted yes, polls still show him under 50%. When you're Joe Manchin, you're under 50%, you're in trouble there, because the vast majority of those undecided voters, they're going to go for Pat Morrissey, the challenger.
What, Jim, does this do to the president? I mean, people forget, the president campaigned in 2016 to put conservative judges on the court, and now it looks like if the vote holds, that will become true for a second time. What does this do to the president's job approval?
It's another example of promises made, promises kept. And oh, by the way, Rasmussen's daily tracking shows the president at a 51% job approval rating up. That's up several points from where it's been over the last few months. So the fact that you see it, the White House is actually gaining dividends off of this, because at the end of the day, most Americans, they agree with the judicial philosophy of Judge Brett Kavanaugh.
Jim, let's look at these Democrats. Now, these are Democrats seeking re-election in Trump states. Joe Donnelly in Indiana, Jim Nelson in Florida, Debbie Stabenow in Michigan, McCaskill in Missouri, Tester, Montana, Heitkamp in North Dakota, Sherrod Brown in Ohio, Casey in Pennsylvania, Manchin in West Virginia, and Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. What's this mean for all of those Democrats?
The states where Donald Trump did better, those are the states where this is going to have the most impact. And like I said, before, the Kavanaugh hearings, I think a lot of it is just the Democrats went too far. And what a lot of voters are seeing, again, not just the Republican base, but independents and even those Trump Democrats. Remember, Donald Trump got about 11% of the Democratic vote last time. So they're looking at this. They're seeing the radicalization of the Democratic Party, and they don't like it. Those pictures of the protests and all the other, and the violence and those things that are going on, that's turning off mainstream America.
And Heidi Heitkamp, I want to focus just very quickly on her, because she obviously was a possible red state Democrat that could have come along with Joe Manchin. What's this going to do to her?
She's done. I think the reason why she's doing this, because she's worried about her political future. We did a poll over a few months back where she was down double digits. Fox News poll had her down double digits. I think she's looking to get in the next Democratic presidential administration, and she's trying to dust off her liberal resume for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
Jim McLaughlin, thank you very much. It's going to be very fascinating to watch. We're very close to November 6th. We shall see what happens. Thank you. All right, Senator Susan Collins being attacked by the left, some even saying she should be voted out of office for voting what she believes. So is there a double standard here? We'll discuss it. Plus, Diamond and Silk are here live. Their thoughts. Good morning, ladies. We want to find out what they think. I bet they've got some opinions. Good Saturday morning. Some quick headlines for you. A murder suspect is behind bars after an intense 7-day manhunt. Police finding Kirby Wallace in the woods north of Nashville, Tennessee. Wallace peacefully surrendered. He is accused of a deadly home invasion and shooting a man to death. And a white Chicago police officer is convicted in the killing of a black teenager. A jury finding Jason Van Dyke guilty of second-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery. He shot and killed 17-year-old Laquan McDonald in 2014. Van Dyke will be sentenced later this month. And Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arriving in Tokyo overnight for a meeting with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, the U.S. diplomat stopping in Japan just hours before heading to North Korea. Pompeo will wrap up his East Asia tour with stops in South Korea and China. Pete, Rachel?
Thank you, Griff. Well, Republican Senator Susan Collins is making an impassioned 43-minute speech on the Senate floor on why she decided to vote for Judge Kavanaugh.
Collins defending powerfully the presumption of innocence and shutting down the notion that pro-Kavanaugh voters are being dismissive of women.
So here to react, former acting director of the Office on Violence Against Women at the Justice Department, Andrea Botner. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning to you. So you say that she was courageous, that Senator Collins was very courageous. Tell us why you admired that courage.
Oh, I was so proud of her yesterday because she is one of the most thoughtful and well-reasoned and bipartisan working senators who's been representing Maine for over 20 years. And yesterday, when she made that speech, I think she did Maine proud. And as a woman, I was just so thrilled to hear her lay out her case and draw her own conclusions and show the courage
Andrea,
that she will vote.
Sometimes we get frustrated with it, but the Senate is about process. They have rules, and it's always been a part of that institution. It almost felt like she was defending the process of the Senate as much as she was defending Kavanaugh, who's utterly defensible. He's highly qualified. So she did a lot for the institution yesterday as well.
She sure did. She brought respect back to the Senate. And yesterday, I really believe she chose the law. She valued the presumption of innocence over politics.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of attacks on her as a woman. And there was something that I read, and I just wanted to share with you. Eve Ensler wrote a letter on Time.com, and she said, white women who support Brett Kavanaugh, she says, are choosing their sons over their daughters. What do you think about that?
That is absolutely disgusting. And I have one of each. And I tell you, no woman, no mother wants to be accused of choosing a son over a daughter or a daughter over a son. And again, we're just right back in that gender politics. If you're a woman, you have to think one way. If you're a man, you think another. I don't buy into that. I don't think most of America does either.
No, well said. She shut that down also. Well, protesters, they didn't stop. They laid into her for the vote. Listen.
Don't put a liar on the court. Don't put a liar on the court. Don't put a liar on the court.
Susan Collins just made a huge choice to ignore her constituents and survivors.
You know, it was Lindsey Graham, it was Orrin Hatch, it was Mitch McConnell, and then Susan Collins ultimately staring down these protesters who think if we yell loudly enough, we will get our way.
I mean, that's just incredible. It's mob rule. And that is not what our country is about, and that's not why we were founded and how we've proceeded with our justice system and our culture for the last several decades. It's just not right, and we need to stand up and support women like Susan Collins and be courageous enough in our own lives to make our own decisions.
Well, we think she's going to stand up today, we believe, and cast one of the deciding votes. 5 or 6 p.m. tonight is when the actual confirmation vote will happen. Andrea Botner, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, Senator Sarah Palin. Well, the former governor's warning shot for 2022. We'll bring it to you.
Plus, as the world watches Kavanaugh's confirmation battle, a new poll shows enthusiasm among women voters is on the rise. Why? We're going to ask Diamond and Silk live next. Stay with us.
They're here.
They're here.
Justice Thomas and Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, or likely will have both of them. That is 2 out of 9 sitting justices have been credibly accused of sexual misconduct and then go on to be confirmed anyway. So I do think that the question is not whether or not they're going to be nice to him, but whether or not the other justices are possibly going to change their voting behavior in response.
The court is not on the level after today. Americans ought not have faith in their Supreme Court.
His founding fathers set it up that way. You know, they warned us about factions. They would be very upset with seeing the way the Supreme Court now has been factionalized.
That was some of the media outrage yesterday, although Tara is fantastic. This is a live shot of the Senate floor as they currently are undergoing 30 hours of debate. You know, the cloture vote meant debate will be limited, so no one can filibuster. 30 hours ends up at 4:52 p.m. tonight. So apparently overnight, and while you were all sleeping and not listening because the vote already happened, senators have been talking about, you guessed it, Brett Kavanaugh all night long.
Yeah, and, you know, this is the highlight of this tired week of protesters and all these senators.
The highlight of C-SPAN.
But we have Diamond and Silk
Yes,
right now, which is perhaps the most important voice to bring into this thing. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning.
So the media meltdown that has ensued as a result of this vote, predictable?
Well, this is what they do. Okay, this is what they do. But you know what I love? I love the fact that Republicans stood up. They didn't go cold. They stood bold and stood toe-to-toe with these here people. Listen, we cannot make accusations and allegations against someone without evidence. You have to have evidence. Brett Kavanaugh, I stood with him. He pulled me in with his story. It was compelling, and I believed him. Do I believe Dr. Ford? Something happened, but it wasn't with Brett Kavanaugh.
No, it wasn't.
We need to go ahead and confirm him today.
That's right.
Absolutely. It's going to be a big day.
So when Donald Trump was elected, I kept telling my husband, I think the most important thing about Donald Trump's election is he is going to teach Republicans how to fight.
That's right.
Yes.
When you write, you fight.
That's
you have
right.
to understand that. And I'm not talking about fist fighting, but you have to fight them with the facts. Hold up, Jack.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
That's right.
And don't hold nothing back.
That's
so
right.
you really do have to do that.
You're right.
Because
You're
it's
totally
always
right.
been a culture where you're racist, you're this, you that, and then Republicans fold. Well,
Yes.
see, we're the new Republicans.
That's
we're
right.
the Trump Republicans.
Trump
and we
Republicans,
don't
baby.
fold, baby. We know how to fight dirty. You want to fight, we're going to show you how it's
That's
done.
right.
Let me say this too, because when Senator Collins, which is an unlikely, as Rachel was pointing out, unlikely senator to really finally stare down this angry mob and say this is larger than this one political fight. This is about fairness of this man. Do you believe that this is going to be the mantra for Republicans going forward?
It should be.
It have to be.
That's right.
If not, it's time for us to take our country back. For so long, we've allowed Democrats, we've allowed liberals to control the narrative and the process. We have to man up and stand up and stop allowing these people to take and dismantle this country.
And shout people down with racist, sexist, homophobic.
Exactly.
Blah, blah,
This is
blah.
what happens when you man up or stand up. This is what the Women's March tweeted yesterday about who Senator Collins is. So she stood on the floor for 43 minutes and made a very powerful, reasoned speech. And they said Senator Collins is a rape apologist. That's how they view someone who was very respectful in her remarks. Is anything ever good enough for the left unless they win?
Oh, it's nothing ever good enough for them. Nothing, nothing, nothing. So what we have to do, we ignore them. And what we need to do while they're forming their protests in the street, we need to form a protest and go to the polls and protest and vote some of these people out and vote for Republicans. Today is Kavanaugh. Tomorrow it could be your brother, your husband, your father, or your son. I don't like what I just saw here. Anybody can be accused of something, and even if they're trying to defend themselves, you still want to make them wrong, and that's not right.
So what do you think this does to the midterms?
Oh, listen, I think you're going to see a red tsunami. Listen, people are going. You have
red tsunami.
But you have Democrats that's upset about what just happened to this man. And if you are a minority, and I hate calling us minorities because we're part of the majority because we're Americans. But if you are, but if you're black in this country, you should be standing with Kavanaugh. You know how it feels to be unjust and done wrong. Somebody accused you of something.
You serve time for it, and you ain't do it.
But let me tell you what Al Sharpton said on MSNBC. He said these people would go to church and then go to the lynching after clothing themselves in morality. And that's what we're seeing here today. This was two white people. The drama was around Dr. Ford, Brett Kavanaugh. Where's all this?
You have to understand that Al Sharpton is one of the gatekeepers of what we call the Democrat Party, the Democratic plantation, okay? So he know the words, he know the dog whistles, he know what to use. And he need to talk about his party, the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow. I get tired of them talking about Republican. I get tired of them talking about white Republican men. It's not working
anymore.
People are paying attention. They not just woke. They paying attention.
Is Sharpton in your movie? Democrats coming out a week from Monday, right?
Democrats is coming out a week from Monday. Yes, it is. Listen, we know that the president is draining the swamp, so what we're doing is exposing the hypocrisy on the left. You tell us you want to impeach 45, but we go in your district and it's run down, it's homelessness, or we have a problem with that.
How do we go see it?
Okay, go to DemocratsTheMovie.com, click on Get Your Tickets, and it'll tell you what location it's playing at in your area. It's in theaters nationwide.
You're going to places the Democrats have long been in charge, pointing out that their her policies don't work.
Yes, baby, and we're giving you proof with truth. I mean,
right.
we got
We're
our
giving
facts.
it to you straight from the gate,
That's
baby.
right.
That's right.
Democrats.
Well,
I love it.
Democrats.
Yes.
Well, you ladies, we always love having you on this couch.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for
so
joining
much.
us
We
this
love
morning.
you. Thank you.
Come more often.
We certainly will.
Yeah, we like you in person over the satellite. So
And it's DemocratsTheMovie.com.
DemocratsTheMovie.com.
Check it out.
Thank you, ladies. Well, we're going to turn to some headlines right now. An illegal immigrant deported once before is accused of killing 5 Americans after mistakenly being released from jail. Immigration officials say Pablo Serrano Vitorino re-entered the country in 2015. An ICE detainer was apparently issued at the wrong sheriff's office, freeing the Mexico native from local authorities. Police believe he then went on a deadly multi-state shooting spree in Kansas and Missouri. He's awaiting trial. And an anti-Trump professor is no longer teaching at Georgetown University after some major backlash. The move comes after Fair posted this tweet saying Republican senators who support Judge Kavanaugh, quote, deserve miserable deaths. The school claiming Christine Fair will be traveling internationally for research for the university. They previously supported Fair, but said the decision was necessary to protect the Georgetown community.
Deaths while feminists laugh at them.
Right.
Yeah. Good. Great.
Liberal New York City Mayor, I love your commentary.
Sorry.
Thank you, Pete. Liberal Mayor de Blasio is caught blowing off a homeless activist who interrupts his workout. Take a look.
In your affordable housing program, only 5% will go to house the homeless. Can you look him in the eye?
That activist demanding that de Blasio create more affordable housing for homeless people like her. For example, apartments available through the city's affordable housing program require applicants earn nearly $200,000 a year. And a Senate run could be in Sarah Palin's future. The former Alaska governor tweeting, quote, hey, Lisa Murkowski, I can see 2020 from my house. Palin appearing to challenge incumbent Senator Murkowski after she voted no on a measure to end debate on Judge Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination. The Alaska Republican is up for re-election after her term ends in 2023. And those are your headlines.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think about a Senator
You know
Palin?
where that comes from. Like, I can see Russia from my house, but we're not talking that much about Russia anymore. No. Well, Rick is. Rick, no, he's actually not, ever. You should do the weather from Russia sometime. Still cold in Siberia.
It is very, very cold. Or Alaska. Alaska's one of 2 states I've never been to.
Really? What's the other one?
Montana.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I know. I have 2 amazing states waiting. So we should just find some stories.
Knock it out.
Hey, Pete, in local weather, we talk about, hey, where's the cold front? Can you spot the cold front? I know you want to be a weatherman.
I can see it right there.
Can you
right
see
across
the cold
the Central Plains, Rick.
You can see the cold front from the curvy couch.
Yes.
That's my Sarah Palin reference there. Yeah, it's right here.
That was good, Rick.
There you go. Thank you very much. This is a cold front. Behind that is a colder air. We're going to be stuck in this pattern for a while where it's kind of below average out west and well above average. Still feels very much like summer across a lot of the east. When you look at the radar picture, you can exactly see the same thing. We've got all of this moisture here from parts of West Texas, all across parts of the plains. And because of this, even though Rachel doesn't remember this, Wisconsin is incredibly wet, and they've had an incredibly wet summer. They have a lot more rain coming here. It's going to cause some more localized flooding. Take a look at what happens throughout the weekend. By tomorrow, a bunch of spots here that are going to be seeing over 4 to 6 inches of rain, and on already wet soil, that causes for some flooding. Rachel, sorry to throw you.
Are we out of the hurricanes?
No, we're not. In fact, we have a little bit of tropical stuff we're going to watch across parts of the Central Gulf later on.
Rick, I can't know what the weather in Wisconsin is when I'm in New York.
You are there 5 days a week.
I know.
Fortunately, you have Rick to give it to you. All right.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. All right. If Kavanaugh is voted through today, as expected, what does it mean for the presumption of innocence? Tom Fitton joins us next. He's going to weigh in.
Plus, some people are already calling to replace Senator Susan Collins after her yes vote on Kavanaugh. One of the people answering that call on Twitter, Susan Rice? She from Maine? We are back. Well, the Senate set to vote on Judge Kavanaugh's confirmation today. And if confirmed, it could be a big day for the rule of law and the presumption of innocence in America. Here to explain, President of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. So, Tom, vote expected will happen later on today, and Judge Kavanaugh will likely be the next Associate Supreme Court Justice. But you say the big winner is the rule of law. Why?
It is, but just barely, because, you know, the rule of law is designed to protect the operations of the Senate, to make sure that they're not hijacked. They're designed to protect innocent Americans who are brought before the Senate for confirmation, such as Judge Kavanaugh. And what the left tried to do was really overturn the Senate. What the left tried to do was overturn the basic presumptions that we have as a country, as a constitutional system, that you're innocent until proven guilty. You know, thankfully, by 1 or 2 votes, all those principles will be upheld. But by gosh, they took a body blow.
Well, what happens when you overturn those presumptions?
Well, you blow up the Senate, you blow up our constitutional system, and you tell American citizens that, look, we're going to let senators in this case, you know, before it was IRS agents or FBI agents, but this week it's senators, abuse their offices to target you over politics, and it will be no holds barred. And, you know, I have a feeling as long as conservatives are being put before the Senate, the left now has a pattern they can follow, which is to raise allegations without evidence and use their allies in the Senate to try to destroy you and your family. Now, leftists will have no problem, but the liberal media, the organized left on the outside, the organized left in the Senate, they don't believe in this constitutional system that we've all followed for 200-plus years.
Well, one of the president's sons, Donald Trump Jr., tweeted this just yesterday. Trump supporters, the fight isn't over. You better believe that Democrats are going to do everything in their power to impeach Kavanaugh from the Supreme Court if they take control of Congress in November. This is war. Time to fight. Vote on November 6th to protect the Supreme Court. Do you believe this is a real possibility should the Democrats take either house?
Yeah, I don't think they'll necessarily get anywhere with impeachment against Kavanaugh, but that's not the point. The point is the process, having it hang over his head while he conducts the business of the Supreme Court. So in addition to trying to destroy the Senate, they're going to try to destroy the Supreme Court. You know, when you've got this fixation on power, they don't care. It's all about power, and they'll destroy institutions that protect the republic to do it. It's a disconcerting, terrible 2 weeks for the republic, Pete. I'm really upset.
No, I agree with you, Tom. We've only got about 15 seconds here. Briefly, one of the upsides, silver linings of this process is that we haven't had to hear about Russia and Bob Mueller. Are we going to start hearing about it again now?
Oh yeah, we'll hear about it on Monday. They were abusing the FBI and DOJ to target Trump. Then they abused the Senate and the FBI to target Kavanaugh. They'll come back around again to go after Trump.
So it's whatever the most convenient vehicle of the moment is. Tom Fitton, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, former Obama advisor Susan Rice answering the call to challenge Susan Collins over her support of Judge Kavanaugh. Benghazi, anyone? Our next guest says the culture of retribution by the Democrats, it's got to stop. Plus, we've got on this program Mercedes Schlapp, Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, Greg Jarrett, and Candace Owens, all here live on this program coming up.
Does to the midterms.
Oh, listen, I think you're going to see a red tsunami. Listen, people are going. You have
red tsunami.
But you have Democrats that's upset about what just happened to this man. And if you are a minority, and I hate calling us minorities because we're part of the majority because we're Americans. But if you are, but if you're black in this country, you should be standing with Kavanaugh. You know how it feels to be unjust and done wrong. Somebody accused you of something.
You serve time for it, and you didn't do it.
But let me tell you what Al Sharpton said on MSNBC. He said these people would go to church and then go to the lynching after clothing themselves in morality. And that's what we're seeing here today. This was two white people. The drama was around Dr. Ford, Brett Kavanaugh. Where's all this?
You have to understand that Al Sharpton is one of the gatekeepers of what we call the Democrat Party, the Democratic plantation, okay? So he know the words, he know the dog whistles, he know what to use. And he need to talk about his party, the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow. I get tired of them talking about Republican. I get tired of them talking about white Republican. It's not working
anymore.
People are paying attention. They not just woke. They paying attention.
Is Sharpton in your movie? Democrats coming out a week from Monday, right?
Democrats is coming out a week from Monday. Yes, it is. Listen, we know that the president is draining the swamp, so what we're doing is exposing the hypocrisy on the left. You tell us you want to impeach 45, but we go in your district and it's run down, it's homelessness, or we have a problem with that.
How do we go see it?
Okay, go to democratsthemovie.com, click on get your tickets, and it'll tell you what location it's playing at in your area. It's in theaters nationwide.
Wait, so you're going to places the Democrats have long been in charge, pointing out that their policies don't work.
Yes, baby, and we're giving you proof with truth. I mean, we got
We're giving it to you straight from the gate,
That's
baby.
right.
That's right.
Democrats.
Well,
I love it.
Democrats.
Yes.
Well, you ladies, we always love having you on this couch.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for
so
joining
much.
us
We
this
love
morning.
you. Thank you.
Come more often.
We
certainly will.
Yeah, we like you in person over satellite. So
And it's democratsthemovie.com.
Democratsthemovie.com.
Check it out.
Thank you, ladies. Well, we're going to turn to some headlines right now. An illegal immigrant deported once before is accused of killing 5 Americans after mistakenly being released from jail. Immigration officials say Pablo Serrano Vitorino re-entered the country in 2015. An ICE detainer was apparently issued at the wrong sheriff's office, freeing the Mexico native from local authorities. Police believe he then went on a deadly multi-state shooting spree in Kansas and Missouri. He's awaiting trial. And an anti-Trump professor is no longer teaching at Georgetown University after some major backlash. The move comes after Fair posted this tweet saying Republican senators who support Judge Kavanaugh, quote, deserve miserable deaths. The school claiming Christine Fair will be traveling internationally for research for the university. They previously supported Fair, but said the decision was necessary to protect the Georgetown community.
Deaths while feminists laugh at them.
Right.
Yeah. Good. Great.
Liberal New York City Mayor, I love your commentary.
Sorry.
Thank you, Pete. Liberal Mayor de Blasio is caught blowing off a homeless activist who interrupts his workout. Take a look.
Out of the 300,000 units you said in your affordable housing program, only 5% will go to house the homeless. Can you look him in the eye?
That activist demanding that de Blasio create more affordable housing for homeless people like her. For example, apartments available through the city's affordable housing program require applicants earn nearly $200,000 a year. And a Senate run could be in Sarah Palin's future. The former Alaska governor tweeting, quote, hey, Lisa Murkowski, I can see 2020 from my house. Palin appearing to challenge incumbent Senator Murkowski after she voted no on a measure to end debate on Judge Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination. The Alaska Republican is up for re-election after her term ends in 2023. And those are your headlines.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think about a Senator
You know where that
Palin?
comes from. Like, I can see Russia from my house, but we're not talking that much about Russia anymore. No. Well, Rick is. Rick. No, he's actually not, ever. You should do the weather from Russia sometime. Still cold in Siberia.
It is very, very cold. Or Alaska. Alaska's one of 2 states I've never been to.
Really? What's the other one?
Montana.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I know. I have 2 amazing states waiting.
Yeah.
So we should just find some stories.
Knock it out.
Hey, Pete, in local weather, we talk about, hey, where's the cold front? Can you spot the cold front? I know you want to be a weatherman.
I can see it right there.
Can you
right
see
across
the cold front?
Central Plains, Rick.
You can see the cold front from the curvy couch.
Yes.
That's my Sarah Palin reference there. Yeah, it's right here.
That was good, Rick.
There you go. Thank you very much. This is a cold front. Behind that is a colder air. We're going to be stuck in this pattern for a while where it's kind of below average out west and well above average. Still feels very much like summer across a lot of the east. When you look at the radar picture, you can exactly see the same thing. We've got all of this moisture here from parts of West Texas, all across parts of the plains. And because of this, even though Rachel doesn't remember this, Wisconsin is incredibly wet, and they've had an incredibly wet summer. And they have a lot more rain coming here. It's going to cause some more localized flooding. Take a look at what happens throughout the weekend. By tomorrow, a bunch of spots here that are going to be seeing over 4 to 6 inches of rain, and on already wet soil, that causes for some flooding. Rachel, sorry to throw you
Are
under
we
the
out
bus.
of the hurricanes?
No, we're not. In fact, we have a little bit of tropical stuff we're going to watch across parts of the Central Gulf later on.
Rick, I can't know what the weather in Wisconsin is when I'm in New York.
You are there 5 days a week.
I know.
Fortunately, you have Rick to give it to you. All right.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. All right. If Kavanaugh is voted through today, as expected, what does it mean for the presumption of innocence? Tom Fitton joins us next. He's going to weigh in.
Plus, some people are already calling to replace Senator Susan Collins after her yes vote on Kavanaugh. One of the people answering that call on Twitter, Susan Rice?